Hello everybody, welcome back to business as usual after the birthday celebrations. This is just another regular episode of Banter Blitz number, 65. I think 65. If we follow the YouTube count, which I do, where I did not properly button up. Apologies for that. I'm still in Madrid with our Spanish friends in the Spanish studio, and they aren't as tall as me, so you can see by the camera settings like that I'm towering over this camera, but that should not stop me from crushing all of you. Hopefully, another inspired opening speech. Let's get started. This is Banter Blitz. You challenged me to a 5-minute game. I accepted, and then we shall play and talk about it. Ale. What do we have to talk about? I didn't watch the Oscars, but of course I have by now caught up on the video with the wrong envelope. Weird that would happen. I also haven't seen any of the movies yet. Moonlight. Is it called Moonlight? I think it's called Moonlight. Or La La Land, or any of those. So I'm way behind on really everything pop culture, which is sad. It's a sad state of events. And I hope I can get ahead on the chess part by crushing Mr. Bobo 419. Where's he from? Chile. Let's do this, Bobo. Let's centralize. First in front of the camera, then on the chessboard. I don't believe in any of this hyper-modern stuff like g6, b6. Control the center with pieces. I want to control it with pawns. Bobo, however, maybe does not want to control it at all. Maybe he's not around. This keeps happening even in the first game now. It's so confusing. But no, I was wrong. Bobo is there and he goes e4, which I shall meet with c6. Not my main move. My main move is e5 to really control the center. But at least c6, you're prepared to take a stand. Prepared to go d5 and defend this pawn so it can't get captured when you have to recapture with the queen, because that would be the Scandinavian, which is not a great opening. I did see Go Curry 0-4-11, and I disagree that he's overrated. I think by now he might be underrated, if anything, but the Warriors still won. Bobo 419 plays the two knights in line which I've always held in high esteem. I think it's one of the better ways to meet the Caro-Can. One big point being that d takes e, knight takes e4, bishop f5. It's not very good here after knight g3. Bishop g4 used to be the main move. Nowadays they do knight f6, e5, knight e4 just as often. And after bishop g4, d4 is possible. Might have been recommended by Vallejo, I'm not sure. Probably not here. It's a lot less popular than starting with h3. After having included d4, e6, I believe I can get away with bishop h5 here. The main line would be bishop f3, queen f3, and knight f6. But I do think that in this position bishop h5 should be alright. Trying to keep this bishop alive a little longer. Now what I want to do is provoke him to go e4, e5. If he does so, I'm going to have a quote-unquote good French position. After knight d7, I can slowly but surely, or actually quite quickly, work on going c5. And I'm going to have this bishop not only outside of the pawn chain, but more importantly, contributing to the fight for the central squares, d4 and e5, by putting pressure on this knight. He goes knight e2, allowing me to go bishop takes f3, spoiling his pawn structure, which I think is too good an invitation to pass up. The point of knight e2 is that now he's ready to maintain his central pawn chain with c3, which is a valid cost, but it has been a high price to pay to allow me to do this. Queen d2, I'm not sure about this, but this once again looks like too good to pass up on. CD, he has to go CD to keep his center intact, and I can develop with tempo. Go bishop b4, force this knight back to c3. No, I'm not sure about this move, but I'll go rook c8 just to make it clear to Mr. Bobo that his king will not have peace and quiet on the queen side should it decide to go there. Bishop g5. He's trying to make something happen on the king side, but it's not obvious to me that there's any particular threats. I'll go queen b6, targeting this guy once again, inviting him to castle queenside, defending d4, but moving into hopefully the line of fire. If he does not want to do that, then it's gonna be trouble to keep the center intact. Bishop e3 maybe, actually bishop e3 probably, but it doesn't look very inspiring either. Maybe I can start working on some progress with knight a5 already. I'm in no particular rush to castle because I would give him some target with h4, h5. Not sure I would get mated, but for now my king feels quite safe in the center. He goes rook c1. Can you do that? Can I just take? I like taking pawns. I don't see why not, frankly. Yeah, this doesn't seem to work, and with this pawn the white position just collapses. I can't see how you can even hang around. Maybe f4 to try to hang on to the e5 pawn. I've been speaking my not fantastic Spanish the last couple of days, so my English, my brain is gonna need a moment to re-switch to English. Does that make sense? I don't know. Probably it doesn't, because normally I speak a lot of German when in Germany. But somehow the switch from Spanish to English feels different. Well, we've never argued that this is supposed to make a lot of sense, but Bobo's position didn't make a lot of sense anymore either. After knight takes d4, f3, e5, everything falls apart. Therefore, Bobo 419 resigns. Thanks for the game. The big question is, can we play another game? I believe the answer is probably yes. Let's play against one of our Spanish friends, GM Rero Delphi. Is he really a grandmaster? Or is that... what's the English term? Are you allowed to add false titles to your name? I think you are when choosing your username. So let's not panic. I never tried to figure out what the Rero Delphi stands for. Maybe it's something like Ricardo Rodriguez Del... I don't know. Del Cervantes? Maybe GM Rero Delphi is not with us either. People are making me wait today. And you all know that I'm not particularly adept at filling the time while waiting for people to make chess moves with idle banter. There we go. Knight f3, knight f6. I shall play c4. This move order is really more or less like playing d4, but trying to make it a little harder for opponents to get the Grunfeld or whatever their favorite opening is. So you're just move ordering a little. And by the magic of... No, this is not even the magic of transposition. This is actually one of the English mainlines, the so-called four knights position, where normally your opponents, not only are they less booked up here than they would be in their Grunfeld or King's Indian in my experience, I also think the white's chances for an advantage are just as good here. As you can see, GM Rero Delphi is taking his time already after castles. The main move is knight takes d4, queen d4, d6. Recently, queen a5 has become quite popular as well. Well, some adventurous spirits enjoy playing d6, offering a pawn sacrifice on c6, which you can accept or decline with a move like b3 or knight to c2. And Mr. GM goes for d6 after a long thought. Give me that pawn. I just can't resist these things, you know me. Now, I know that bishop g2 is a theoretical move, but this is another one of these lines which I know to be bad for black, but I never really studied. And I'm aware that I keep catching myself saying that more and more often, and that it is getting a little embarrassing. But it's true. Unfortunately, it's nothing but the truth. Queen a5, putting some pressure on my queen side, so I'll go queen c2 in order to prepare bishop to d2. Bishop b7, I don't think it's in my best interest to exchange these bishops right now. Even though I could have, I'm not sure about that. And rook c8, very logical play. To b3. This really is embarrassing. Because after b3 as knight takes e4, the oldest trick in the book, but I keep falling for it. So I'm gonna have to play differently. Queen e2 runs into bishop a6, which I'm not sure I like. Knight b5 maybe, but it's not particularly inspiring. Yeah, probably e4 was just madness. Anyway, life has to go on. I have to make a move. But which one? I don't know. Knight d5? Can take that twice too if he wants to. Yeah, haven't played that one well. What to do? Let's make random moves. Hope for the best. This is a very weird random move too. I'm not even sure I can vocalize my point. It's more or less panic. I didn't see what else to do. So you panic and make a random move, trying to make your opponent think. Change the nature of the position so that he can't bang out rook takes c4. But it doesn't look particularly good, especially in view that I could have gone bishop takes b7 without giving up my precious e-pawn just a second ago. Now I'm still under pressure and not even a pawn up anymore. So things aren't looking good against Mr. GM Rero Delthe. Could even argue that things are looking fairly terrible. But what to do? Gotta hang around, hope for the best. Knight g4 might or might not win on the spot. f3, bishop d4, king h1, knight h2. Not great, but not the end of the game yet. Knight g4, f3. There's also bishop c3, fg, bishop d4 check, king g2, queen takes g4. Nothing particularly inspiring, but what can I do? Let's see if GM Rero manages to punish me for my many sins. It's quite possible. Can't rule it out. Or he can just choose an endgame, a pawn up with queen takes h2. Can you guys hear all this Skype in this very random Skype group? Skyping, I mean? Probably not, right? Because system sounds are off. I never know how these things work. Anyway, I should switch it off to give Rero my full undivided attention. 93, he doesn't want my pawns. That's a mistake, Mr. Rero Delthe. Always take pawns when given the chance to grab some. Also, maybe I could have gone for queen e4 and grabbed material myself already. See, I was still shell-shocked, so I missed that opportunity, which is a bit pathetic once again. But what to do? Still feels like the tables have turned. Queen e4 or knight d5. Let's start with this. I'm not gonna include this game in my 50 memorable flagging jobs, the book I'm working on. First of all, because I won't flag him. Secondly, because, yeah, I'm a bit too embarrassed by the opening, by the fact that I still don't know that gambit and still keep accepting it. Yeah, that's about it. Those are the reasons. It's not making the book. Let's change queens, though. I do enjoy taking queens off. Sometimes we all should take a little queens off. Get away, reflect on what we've done, enjoy without the stress of the middle game with queens. I'm not really pulling this off, am I? Well, I'm gonna win the game, that's not what I'm saying, but the analogy, I could have done better. Now I'm 2 pawns up and I'm up on the clock, so the battle, even though I will be the first to admit that my rook endgame technique has not always been very inspiring. I believe that I should be able to cope in this one. Then again, you never know. Pre-move? I'm pretty sure it's going to go a5. Nope, no a5. So, what can I say about this rook endgame? Really nothing much. I'm 2 pawns up. And that will get the job done. These guys, 3 versus 1 on the queen side is pretty much the main factor in the position. He has to remain passive in order not to give me this pawn. And then I'll do something. Just act, improve my king, push these pawns up the board. There's fairly little that can go wrong here. Is that self-jinxing, saying there's little that can go wrong? Nah, I think that's just an objective evaluation of the position, so that should be allowed. And GM Rero Delta resigns in a game where he had a very good position out of the opening, thanks to my enormous stupidity. Mainly, first of all, I could look up this line at some point, and secondly, after bishop b7, I'm pretty sure just take and go bishop d2, something along those lines. Well, I guess I'm better. But once again, note to self: study random openings at some point in life, especially if you're gonna keep playing those lines. Let's keep playing games. What about Funbeat? His real name is Random User. That's, I don't know. It's up there on my list of strange names. What was the guy from Meet the Parents called? Gaylord Fokker? Funbeat is called Random User. And he has this, is this a Black Mirror avatar? Looks like the Black Mirror trolling thing, right? I'm not a Black Mirror fanatic. I know many people think it's the best thing since sliced bread, and I kind of agree that it's very good, but the episodes are, of course, given the nature of the beast, a bit hit and miss. And we do start the game once again fashionably late. Looks like every game needs a couple seconds to get off the ground, but here we are playing Mr. Funbeat. And Funbeat plays the trendy London system. Another thing that has been happening a lot recently, but people are playing this version that's not supposed to be as dangerous, because here after c3, I feel like I'm starting to sound like a broken record. Here after c3, both queen b6 and knight h5 are supposed to be okay for black. I'll play something else just for variety's sake, because I feel like I've played a lot of this. Queen b6 followed by b4, followed by c4, which is the respected anecdote. I went e6 and he goes dc5, very surprisingly. Normally they go knight d2, followed by either bishop d3 or bishop b5. dc5, well, not a mistake, still does come as a surprise to me. And queen e7 might not be the most subtle of moves, but I had cruel intentions, and you know I can never help myself when I spot a dumb little trick that might win the game immediately. And in this case I thought this double attack could be very awkward for Funbeat, who I'm sure is gonna remain upbeat, but it's gonna be fun for me to beat him too, so everybody wins. GF is just pure greed. Queen f6, he could have gotten 2 pawns for the piece with knight e4 or bishop e4. Well, now I don't think he can get a lot of those. Tells me opponent is disconnected. Let's hope Funbeat can make it back, or, well, there's no shame in resigning here, but disconnecting is normally not what we were taught in manners school after losing a piece. Then again, you never know. Maybe it's just a proper disconnection problem. 14 seconds to win. Let's see what happens. Oh, the excitement. That gives us time to check in with the chatsters. And yeah, Funbeat failed to reconnect in time. Sorry, Funbeat, but yeah, the position was not that much fun anymore. What are we talking about? Rook endgames? And no, I'm not really working on a book on my best flagging jobs. But you never know in the future. When I want to reminisce, look back on all these flag jobs. They must be preserved for future generations to learn from them. So let's see if I can win on time against William Zedis. Is that a disease? William Zedis? Is it infectious? Is infectious a word? What is the word I'm looking for? Contagious. William Zedis. Maybe it's just his name. William Zedis. But it does sound like something contagious. You have to admit. He goes for the Nimzo, and I will go out of my way to spice up the game. Play the move f3. Mamedyarov just completely crushed Who You Fun with this, where Who You Fun played the line I recommended in my video series, but then deviated and ran into some very nasty early bishop d3, threatening bishop h7, which, had she watched my series, wouldn't have happened. But William Zedis played the other main move, d5. In that game I was talking about, Who You Fun played c5, d5 takes, bc. Here knight c6, not a move I'm familiar with. The main line is c5. I've also seen people play c6, but knight c6 feels a little slow. I don't know what to do though, I guess. Now I'll clarify the situation and take here. My guess is black should play ed, and now after e3 he could and probably should put his bishop on f5 before I get in bishop d3. But after bishop f5 I'll give serious thought to gaining some more space with g4. Not sure I can go g4 immediately because I'm a little scared of knight g4, f3, queen h4 check. But I could go knight e2 followed by g4, for example. Well, now castles, perfectly natural moves, but it allows me to go bishop to d3, stopping bishop f5 for now. And the thing in this structure is if white manages to develop, let's say knight e2, castles, knight g3, then it's going to be very hard for black long term to stop white from expanding in the center, going e4, e5, and checkmating him on the king side. Queen d6, not sure what that's about, so I'll just continue with my plan. Black at some point should go knight e7 to prepare bishop f5 and also to prepare c5, but after knight e7 now I'm ready to go knight g3. Therefore, yeah, I think this position is already very tough for black strategically. He didn't really manage to get any counterplay in the center or to exchange his bishop at least via a6. Well, I can do all the things I was talking about. Go knight g3, get an e4, and hopefully make something happen. a5 looks like a logical strategic idea to go bishop a6. But even without light square bishops, the white initiative is pretty strong in those positions. One maneuver I always liked here is to go rook a2 followed by rook e2 just to bring this rook into play as well. But after knight a5 I feel there's no particular need for added preparations and I can just strike while the iron is hot. I'm not sure the iron was in any danger of going cold here, but it looks like e4 is just a good move. Queen back to d8. Things aren't really improving for William Zedis because now he also has to deal with this pin, which is very, very hard since he no longer owns a dark square bishop. Yeah, this position is pretty much resigns already. It goes to show he made natural moves, but didn't really play to the essence of the position, how quickly you can end up in trouble in these f3 systems, because they are very ambitious strategically. Black has to know what he's doing. I should try to know what I'm doing too. Look, every move is very strong here, which is the good thing. Queen h5, queen d2, knight h5. Hard to decide. Queen d2, here's knight b3, but that's gonna be very temporary and relief only. Knight b3, queen h6, knight a1, knight h5. Well, king g7, I thought knight h5 might be a good reply as well, when the king has to go on an unexpected journey. And those things aren't always as pleasant as Bilbo Baggins' adventures. Here might be a short, painful journey. And therefore, William Zedis resigns after king g6. Yeah, either rook f6, knight f6, or e5 check are all pretty much ending the game. Alright, thanks for the game, William Zedis. Let us play another one. choices. What about our friend Tapnur from India? Speaking of India, probably Tapnur and Indian chess fans aren't very happy. They don't have a horse in the race in the Women's World Championship anymore. What a tragic semi-final that was, Harika against Tan Chongji. I watched it live and they were going blow by blow. Both winning on demand multiple times. So it was very dramatic with the better end for Tan Chongji, who is now poised to win this World Championship. She won today the second game of the finals against Anna Musichuk and has 1.5 half lead. Musichuk pretty much has to win on demand with white in the next game, or it's gonna look like China would have a very unexpected female world champion, not called Hu Yifan or Zhu Wenjun, but Tan Chongji. And Tapnur also not with us. What's with all the waiting today? Tapnur, are you there? I'm gonna count till 5. It looks like it takes a while to connect. Maybe there are some internet problems all over the world or some Chess24 problems. I'm not sure, but nothing I can do. And yet Tapnur said opponent disconnected, so he was probably no longer online, which means I should find someone else. How about Mr. Craig Evans? Why do I have a feeling I just played Craig Evans? Maybe there was on another account, maybe during the Spanish shows as DBs. I have a feeling we just played, or am I wrong, Craig Evans? I can't remember things. It's the good old goldfish problem. But the name looks very familiar. Maybe we just interacted in the chat, or I'm confusing him with another regular Evans Gambit, but I don't think so. Knight f3, e6, c4, c5. We'll go knight c3. So yeah, when my brain isn't switched on, I just go knight f3 and c4 on autopilot now. I want to force myself to play more d4 and e4 in these sessions because it's a little more educational, I believe, for all of us than these constant English positions, which I end up getting. Even though I do believe that I have the biggest edge in these English positions. The game gets Rero Delta notwithstanding, and that's mainly because people don't study them as much as they would study their openings against d4 or e4. Here we have a slightly different one, which after d5 cd ed could lead to a Tarrasch. After d4 d5 cd knight d5, so-called semi-Tarrasch, is quite popular. He plays a6, indicating he wants to play some type of hedgehog position. But for these hedgehogs, the knight on c6 is normally a bit misplaced. In general, English hedgehogs, where white has this bishop on g2 and has not played e4 yet, tend to be a little dubious for black, in my opinion, because it's going to be very hard to develop this queen side without making further concessions. He goes queen c7, probably preparing b6, bishop b7. But one drawback with the queen on c7 in these structures is that soon I will have a nice little threat of knight to d5. I'm going to go rook c1, and then let's say he goes d6, rook c1, some move bishop d7. Knight d5 is often very awkward to me. The best black can do here is, I believe, to play d6, rook to c1, and knight to e5, trying to put this knight on g6. But even that setup is not particularly promising for black. Still, I believe that's how one should play in this position, because else it's just hard to get the pieces out. And as mentioned, bishop d7, knight d5 is bad. Knight d4, queen d4 might be possible, but also gives me very coordinated, pleasant position. Then let's say bishop d7, rook fd1, bishop c6, I would still have knight d5. So yeah, it's not easy to play this with black, in my opinion. Craig Evans taking a moment here to figure out what to do. He does take on d4, at the very least not running into any knight d5 unpleasantness, but as I said, I don't think it solves all of black's problems here. Queen c5. Now, call me boring, but okay, you guys know I'm boring already. I do believe that queen takes c5 is the best move here, because this structure after dc might look innocuous at first sight, but black hopefully is really going to struggle to get his pieces into the game, I believe. This bishop can't really move because b7 is saying, so rook b8 looks very logical, but then I was intending to go either knight e4 or knight a4, probably actually knight e4. And even though after takes, there's an almost symmetrical structure and not a lot of pieces left on the board, I think it's very unpleasant for black, because I'm also threatening bishop to e5. So I think he has to go f6, which he does. Now I have time to, for example, double on the d file. Well, yeah, it's unclear to me how this bishop will enter the game. Might have oversold my advantage a little bit. Now that I take a closer look, maybe knight e4 was a little too much and I should have gone knight a4. I'm still better, but it's not as much as I hoped it would be. So now let's say king f7, can I take? I really want to take, but no, I can't do it yet. So I'll improve my position a bit, go f4, bring my king as well. But yeah, I didn't achieve everything I was dreaming of when I played this line, because I thought it was really already extremely bad for black. Well, this between you and me looks fairly defendable. Here's b6, can I take? I'm gonna say this at every juncture now. It looks like I still can't take. Nope, pity. Bishop b7. Yeah, it's not that much, frankly. Still can't take. I don't know what I did wrong. Looked so promising. Maybe it just wasn't. Now king e8 and here. Not much there. a5 I should be happy to see generally, because now with a4 I can fix these pawns on dark squares. I'm not sure that's gonna give me victory, but it should still increase my chances a little bit, hopefully. Not sure if rook d3 really moves the needle here. Oh, he has f5 check. Oh, you gotta pay attention to tactics. F5 generally you would want to go king to e5, but then bishop f6 check, which, yeah, wasn't ideal. Now I got what I wanted, and I do believe, or at least I hope, that black still has to be very careful because of these weaknesses on the queen side. Actually, it's just a draw. I'm talking up non-existing tiny advantages here, but after a f5 check, there's just very little I can do. Goes bishop d6, which I believe is a serious mistake, actually. I believe f5 check was mandatory, because this position now looks extremely dangerous. f6 is weak, my king makes it to d5, and yeah, this feels winning at least. Not quite sure how to win it yet, but it feels like there should be some inroads. Not easy though. Maybe it's still just a draw. Maybe I just keep saying, oh, now he's in real trouble. There's just nothing to do ever. But this looks like it suits fine, doesn't it? I thought he had to go bishop f8 actually, because now, yeah, the king can't really move. And if you have to put this pawn on h4, I'm gonna pick it up eventually. So I believe this is now winning. Yeah, therefore Craig Evans resigned. I don't know, I felt I had a great position out of the opening, but then I maybe overestimated wherever my chances in this very dry position. Probably knight a4 was stronger, just to keep some pieces in here, because white has to be better with this bishop and this bishop, because in the game it was really just nothing, and then the key moment Came after g4 when I think if he goes f5, there's just nothing I can do. Say king f3, bishop to d6. Or even bishop to f6. And yeah, it's just a draw. Anyway, very good game by Craig Evans. Let's play somebody new. New to Banter Blitz and maybe new to chess as well. What about Mohammad Alati? Usual speech at this moment. I understand I'm a favorite in this game, but we don't discriminate by rating in the show. Every Chess24 premium member has a chance. If you're not interested in the games against low-rated opposition, feel free to scroll forward or watch a bit more of The Bachelor. Is The Bachelor on in other countries? I recently started getting a bit addicted to The Bachelor, which I probably shouldn't be admitting. The German version of The Bachelor, that is. It's not a particularly exciting show, but you know how it is with Guilty Pleasures TV. They don't have to be particularly exciting. Once you know the protagonists, you just watch it. Mohammad Al-Lavati also not with us? Today it feels like every time I accept a challenge, it takes a while till we get going. What's going on there? I don't know, man. Nope, sorry, I'm gonna have to abort this one. Sorry, Mohammed. Instead, I'm gonna play against Gora Rog. Gora Rog. What does Gora Rog stand for? Is it short for Goran Rogic? I'm not sure. E4, E5. I shall bring this piece out. And why not play the Scotch? This might be my first ever game where I play the Scotch opening. I've mentioned multiple times that I like black's chances in these lines after knight f6, followed by queen e7, which we got on the board here. But, you know, gotta experiment once in a while. What do I want to do here? c4, bishop a6, knight d2, c4, bishop a6, b3. So many options, so little time. I'll go with this. b3 is the other main line, but I thought recent practice has taught us that white has better chances for an advantage here. Knight d2, g6. I had a game in Banter Blitz the other day after knight f3, queen b4 check. King d1 and g5. Whoa! Goran is booked up to the eyeballs apparently in this stuff. g5 I've never seen, so I'm gonna have to do my least favorite thing, which is to think. g5, of course, has similar ideas to g6. The drawback is that it weakens the king side a little bit. The plus is that it might make it harder for me to go knight f3 because of g4. My first instinct is to go knight e4. And queen e5 doesn't work because of knight f6 check, but bishop g7 might work. I don't know. Interesting idea. This g5 move I don't think I've ever looked at, but there is certain logic to it. So I'm gonna make a mental note to check it out. Very interesting. What else can I do? Maybe b3 is best, but then knight f4, like b3 doesn't seem to mix so well with his early knight d2 or g3. Maybe g3 is the way to play. That looks like the most circumspect continuation. Knight e4. He's thinking, which is good and bad. Means I got him out of book. Probably also means that my move is not what the computer recommends, but such is life. h6. Alright, is it now time to go b3 or g3? I don't know, I guess I should develop. Even if I lose this pawn, sometimes in these Scottish positions, it's more important to get the pieces out. Well, that's just giving myself a pep talk, really. It's interesting stuff by Gora Rogue. Not sure. Scottish and I will become friends for life. But very interesting idea is G5, which I've really never seen before. I can't really see what I'm gonna do after just queen takes e5, but I'm gonna do something. I guess I'll castle first and think later. But yeah, I can't say I'm particularly thrilled about the way the opening went here. Pawn down and black king reasonably safe. I don't even have a crushing lead in development. So my first attempts as a Scotch player have not really been crowned by success. This knight on e4 is also not particularly well placed, really. It's blocking my bishop. If it could jump to c5, it would be a different story. But it won't be able to get there very quickly. If black just plays knight b6, I have another headache on c4. So yeah, I might not be a natural Scotch killer after all. Yeah, I'm just getting crushed here. Knight b6, what can I even do? I don't see any decent move. I think I'm just lost, which is sad. Yeah, if you have to go for this move, something's gone very wrong, but I couldn't make anything work. I planned bishop e3 from afar, but then you can just take any pawn, c4, b2. Nothing seemed to work, and knight d2, of course, is pretty much an admission of defeat. But I thought I had to keep the game going, somehow. Not really keeping the game going either. I'm still kind of lost after a4. After d5, just nothing to do. Getting completely crushed here. King b8, also legal, but gives me a little more hope somehow. Because now, yeah, this knight doesn't feel so good on c8. And at least for now, I'm not losing any more material. So I'm still not happy with my position, but I'm happy that I haven't lost yet, if that makes sense. Had to get the rook out of the way to prepare b4. Now, at least, I might have my first threat of the game in b5, followed by a6. So things are looking up a little bit. But yeah, not a very impressive treatment of the opening. Goes to show that, yeah, it is extremely important, even for, or mainly, maybe mainly for grandmasters like me, who studied the opening a lot, to be in positions where you more or less understand the patterns. And if you don't, like I don't in the Scotch, then things can get really, really ugly out of the opening. And the Scotch is also, it's a very particular position, because white is behind in development and has to tread very, very carefully. Now I'm winning because I got in this b5 a6 trick I talked about earlier. But yeah, that was a pretty terrible position I ended up with. Probably knight e4 was just really, really bad. But dodged a bullet again. A lot of dodged bullets today. 96. Okay. The rest is a matter of I don't know, of technique or of flagging or a combination of both. But yeah, now I'm winning piece up. This very strong bishop is still alive, so the game is pretty much over. Queen c6 is a bit of a threat. And therefore, Gora Rogue resigns, who played excellently. I'm going to have to look at this g5 idea. Pretty sure knight e4 is not the answer. Maybe b3, maybe knight f3 anyway. Who knows? Interesting idea there by Gora Rogue. New game. Scrolling through the old list here. Well, the name makes me laugh, which is always important, and I also never played against him. Odell Beckham Jr. From the United States of America. I don't really follow the NFL, but I have heard of Odell Beckham Jr. And everybody seems to have his haircut nowadays. He goes C4. What do I do against C4? E5 I always thought was the most principled way to meet it. Grab the maximum amount of space there is to grab in the center. And after knight c3, nowadays a very popular move is bishop to b4. Championed by Vishy Anand. Queen c2, I'm actually not sure what I'm supposed to do. I guess knight f6. The main move after bishop b4 is knight to d5, then bishop c5. And recently, black, as far as I can tell, has been holding his own in the theoretical battles there. Hang on, is this transposition to something? I believe this is a theoretical position, which normally is reached by first getting out the knights. I've played this position, knight d5, some rook e8. Trying to remember things, but it does look very, very familiar. Oh yeah. How come Odell Beckham Jr. is an expert in this stuff? Sometimes I just judge a book by its rating, and then people are blitzing out some fancy, advanced theory knowledge in very rare lines. But I used to play this line in the old days. I learned it, or I saw it first, I believe in a book by Kutronias maybe? Beating the flank openings in the 90s. I remember I played this line in blitz games against Jeroen Piquet on the internet a long time ago. Showing my age there. Queen c2 is not the main move. They normally go queen h5 in order to go bishop to d3. I'm trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do. d5 looks interesting, but then he could take cd, queen d5, bishop c4, which I don't like, so it feels like maybe e4 is the way to go. After knight d4, I'm going to have to think, but I'll probably take and then go d5. He goes knight g1, also fair enough. It's a very weird position. I guess I have to go d5 sooner or later. First of all, because I don't want my bishop stuck on the king side somewhere, on the queen side somewhere. But I needed to have a hiding spot on f8. Secondly, because I want to open the position before white is fully developed. So I can maybe make use of my small lead in development. Well, if white manages to develop, then my structural issues might start telling. 92, he's playing extremely sensible moves so far. And actually, some things... Okay, gotcha. Okay, I gotta speed up a little bit. Well, yeah, I was just confused by something there. I don't like my position after knight e2, and I believe I'm in trouble because I can't really generate any initiative very quickly. Well, white will slowly but surely develop, and then my rotten pawn structure will be the main factor. Yep. I guess knight f4 is best to control the d3 square and ask my queen where it intends to set up shop. And I'm pretty confident that Odell Beckham Jr. will go there. Knight c3 is also interesting to have some potential knight b5 jumps, but it feels a little misplaced with the bishop on b2. So I'd go knight f4. Yep, there we go. Queen d6. And we'll see what keeps happening. Bishop e2. More flawless play. What can I do? a5, does that make any sense? Not really, but okay. There's not a whole lot I can do to escape my fate. Just hang in there. Hanging around. Sometimes I get very pessimistic when I'm facing a superior opponent, but I'm trying to work on my attitude. Stay positive. Positive thinking, very important in these days. Troublesome times, kid. No time for comedy. Oof, bad move. See, there's that negative thinking again. Knight h5. Ooh. Oof, oof, oof. I missed knight h5. Or bishop g7 followed by... No, bishop g7, I wanted knight f4. That was my point, I thought. Does my point make any sense? Let's find out. Can I pre-move this? Yeah, I think I can. If he goes queen c7, because he's seen that I pre-moved. King takes g7. More power to him. This surprised me. I'm probably still worse, but it doesn't feel like it was the most challenging way to do this. We'll find out. Strange position now, but I have a feeling that my chances have improved over the last couple of moves. And after d3 I can take, so... I don't know. All of this is very confusing. This whole game makes no real sense. At least I did manage to capture a rook now. After queen takes d3 was the first move that took less than 4 seconds. Thanks for the game, Odell Beckham Jr. He outplayed me, but then led me back into business. Interesting opening and all that here after knight g6. Knight h5 looked very strong to me. Yeah, thanks for the game. I'll play another one. How about Alati Jr.? A lot of juniors out there in the US&A. Alati Jr. d4, knight f6. c4 and c5. Let's go d5. I can't go knight f3 every game. And we are facing the good old Banco Gambit, where most people nowadays go ba, knight c3, e4, and that's supposed to be better for white. But for the sake of variety, I'm going to play f3, a line from my childhood. When after a, b, e4, I quite liked white's chances, but after e6 followed by e4, ed, e5, queen e7, I thought the complications were fine for black. Here after e4, at least in the old days, they used to play queen a5 check, bishop d2, b4, knight a3. And I'm being informed that Abadir is probably not a junior, but it's Abadir Jan. So yeah, this is the line that I do recall. Knight a3, cute little move, exploiting the pin and trying to jump to the best square on c4. When the game continues, Queen d8, I believe, also supposed to be the best move here, because after Queen c7 there was some trickery with a3 takes, knight takes a3, and some knight b5 was threatened. So Abadir j1 has done his homework as well. Am I being a hypocrite when I always tell people to learn their openings and then I do complain that everybody knows their openings? Probably I am, but still, why does everybody know everything? It's making my job a lot harder, which is to crush you all. That is the job. Anyway, as for the position on the board, after bishop d3, he went g6, bishop g7, perfectly logical. e6 is also always an option in these structures. Now I'm expecting him to castle when I can't think of anything better, at least, than going a3. Trying to open the queen side. Might look strange because it might look like we're getting a Benko. Wow, knight ft7, he doesn't castle. Alright, I'll still do my a3 thing. I'm saying this idea might look strange because white opens the queen side and the structure feels like it's a Benko where black is not a pawn down, which is true, but I'm banking, no pun intended, okay, pun intended, on active piece play on the queen side where black doesn't have as much control. My knight is already on c4, so sometimes this pawn can become strong, the passed a pawn. Sometimes there's some tricks like bishop to a5. So yeah, it's a slightly different strategical thingy. But I do believe that it makes some sense. For white. Castles, I'll go bishop a5, mainly because I like being a nuisance. And bishop a5 forces queen e8. I'm not sure my bishop has any future on f5 really, but it felt like the right thing to do. And now I'll try to put my pieces on active squares on the queen side, making it a little harder for black to develop. Queen b3 might stop him from going knight e5, which you probably want to go. Bishop a6, fair enough. I'm just gonna keep this build up here. Not sure what black should do. He could take and go knight e5, then bishop b5, knight bd7 feels loose. Well, knight e5 immediately. I was hoping that I could somehow overload his pieces after knight takes e5. I haven't really figured out the details, but it felt like there might be something available, like bishop c7, bishop d3, queen d3, knight d7. No, it's not leading anywhere. Bishop a6, knight a6, queen b7. That's interesting. I don't know. First I was afraid of queen a4, but then I thought I can probably get away with queen takes a6, and I couldn't see any tactics. Queen c2, rook c1. So he probably has to do something else along the lines of queen a8 or knight back to b8. But knight back to b8, you need to have a strong stomach. It's a weird position because, yeah, strategically black is of course doing very well. So if he ever gets all his pieces into play, he's gonna be doing just fine. Well, I'm still trying to use a slightly clumsy setup to make something happen before that happens. And since I don't have that many resources left, I'm gonna have to rely on Anton the a-pawn to get the job done. Whoa, that looks like a mistake in an interesting game. bishops do move backwards. It's only the pawns that can't go backwards. Sorry. Aber Dr. J. Ah, now I got it. ABA Dr. J. I'm sorry, I should have spotted that earlier. I'm not much of a basketball historian, but I have heard of the ABA and the merger and of Dr. J. I thought this was a very exotic name, but it's just ABA Dr. J. Dr. Julius Irving. Thanks for the game and sorry for the blunder. Was an interesting game, I thought. Let us play another one of these interesting chess games, because that's what we're all here for. Play games of chess. Let's see if I can find another new opponent. Alright, well, I normally don't support the name robbery. God Gusti used to be my handle on another site when I was still young and foolish. And my friend Luke Van Vele, who's also started doing Banter Blitz, is here, by the way. So check out his shows. Luke, not only is he hilarious, he's also a very, very well-educated player. So opposite to these shows, you can actually learn something from the way Luke plays. It's a very classical style. I highly recommend it. Anyway, Luke Van Vele in the late 90s, whenever it was, he got me into internet chess. I'm not sure he did, but he had the handle King Luke, and I felt I needed to one-up him, and I called myself God Gusti, which with hindsight probably wasn't the most diplomatic of name choices. And it looks like our friend from the USA, who I am playing here, was inspired by that choice. He goes for the Moscow, or depending on his next move, the anti-Moscow. After h6, bishop f6, I believe is called the Moscow. Bishop h4 is a very sharp gambit called the anti-Moscow, which I haven't looked at in quite some time. After dc, e4, g5, bishop g3, b5, we all spent lots of time analyzing this in the 2000s. Especially when I was working for Peter Lako, we were looking at this with both colors. It's very fascinating complications. But yeah, I'm really not very much up to date here. I've moved on to mainly other openings. So yeah, I haven't checked this for a while, but it is a very complex position. Black is a pawn up, and white is not getting that pawn back anytime soon, but black had to weaken his position on both flanks. He goes e5 when, yeah, knight d5 is what you do. Little New York boy doing a little more trolling than usual today, right? What's the name drop? I was working for Lako for a year as a second. I'm not allowed to mention that. You don't understand, I don't mention other chess sites. Lot of trolling out there. Anyway, people seem to have enjoyed Luke's show from yesterday. Yeah, he's on the road as well, so some technical issues. But I very much hope that he can do more shows, because I really think he's one of the more educational grandmasters out there. Like, his style is very pure, especially with white. I've always been a big fan of his games. a4, I'm trying to remember what I'm supposed to do here. Am I supposed to go bishop b4? Knight d7, bishop b7. So many options. I'll go here. Bill is wondering why I moved on from the semi-Slavia. It's a good question. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's more of a fashion thing. Like, people got tired of having to, memorize so many things in these long, complicated lines. And for me also, after a couple of years, I feel I have to refresh my relationship with the game every once in a while. Strange verbal cadence today. Again, getting self-conscious now. Anyway, yeah, sometimes there's no good reason. All the major openings are fine. Like, it's like, if you play the Grunfeld and then switch to the Nemzo or the Slav, there's normally no particular reason for doing so. But there's also nothing particularly wrong with just picking up a new opening every now and then. Not sure I'm playing this one particularly well. My alter ego here is making a lot of sensible moves, but after a6, ab strikes me as a little odd, because it allows me to go cb, maintaining or strengthening my position, since now this bishop has a clear view and there's no knight b5 ab, since my rook is defended on a8 now. So ab cb feels like it should be helping me. Queen c2, I guess, is to prepare knight to e4. Not the end of the world. Nah, I'm just gonna allow that. If knight e4, I have a nice little check on b4. Well, if white castles, I might think about, by think about, I mean blitz out, and then think more aggressive measures like h5. You know, h5 was a bit sick. Not sure about h5. It looked tempting at first sight, but yeah, h4, g4, knight g5 started bothering me the second I did it, because if then I go, let's say, bishop h6, knight takes e6, looks very, very unpleasant. So that might have been a little too optimistic, and now I have to pay the price for it. Go gh probably, which is not really what I wanted. Still, life goes on. Oh, hang on, now I actually have to start being a little precise, because after bishop takes, if queen takes, knight e4 looks extremely strong. And I have to give a little check here, so I might have to go knight takes, which far from ideal. So something's gone a little wrong yet again. And back to base. At least no knight landed on t6, but I had to give up my very powerful bishop, which was not what I wanted, to be perfectly frank. Queen c2 looks a little passive. G8. I guess the point of queen c2 is to prepare b3. Not sure what I want to do about it. I'll jump here, see what happens. What's going on? Stream dead? Let's find out if more people complain. Then we might have to call it a day, or restart, or none of the above. Back. It's all so complicated, on and off again. It's always tough to react from here, because where I'm sitting everything looks fine. Some people say it's fine, and it seems like everything's alright. Computer is not under any pressure. Says there's people watching the show and all that. So yeah, apologies if you can't really see it. If it's gone for everybody, I might have to restart the whole operation. But it looks like we're still kind of in business. As for the position, I'm very much in business, because I managed to pick up another pawn on the queen side, which should hopefully decide the outcome. With this dude around, that should help my chances. Getting mixed messages, working for some, not working for others. I'm very sorry for your loss, or your non-loss. As for the game, I'm willing to give an exchange either on d6 or on f6 to get my king into relative safety on the queen side. And that is what's happening. Not sure I've handled this ideally, but I still think that I'm kind of winning. Especially after queen e5. The endgames should be completely hopeless for white. I thought white had to go for some sort of attack, but I couldn't see how to get it going. And yeah, looks like we're done here. Good game. By our friend with a creative name. Right, let's play somebody else. What about Penguin Do? Some penguins do, some penguins don't. I guess this penguin does. And yeah, sorry for those of you who had problems with the streaming and whatnot. Everything looks fine from my end, so I think I should not restart. Just hope that we're back to kind of normal-ish, back to businessy. Let's see if Penguin Do is still with us. Little New York boy says I can only avoid him for so long. Why would I want to avoid you? Very solly. Oh, is that... Nah, not that funny. Crikey says, stream good, but Jan looks like he's in some sort of bunker. Let me tell you a secret, Crikey. It's the magic of the green screen. Let's do some things with the background. For example, if I did this, I would look like I was a vampire. Or no, more of a zombie than a vampire, I would guess. But I kind of like that style. What happens if I do this? Then I see the bunker is gone. I just sit in front of something green. So let's get back to the bunker. But we could even change. Not sure how much I should use my design skills here. Let's have this background. Nah, don't like it. Let's make a move. Castles. Gioco piano. There's no graphics here that are kind of usable. Nah, back to the bunker. Gioco piano. Trendy opening these days. D3, D6. I will go c3. People have started waiting with c3 until black is committed to d6 for a bunch of reasons. The main one is that after castles followed by d5, white wasn't really getting anywhere. It's also become trendy to play an early a4 instead of the old plan of going bishop to b3. Here, yeah, there's many options. h3 is one of them, bishop g5 is another, rook e1 is another, and so on and so forth. What do I do? I'll expand. And put my rook here, see what happens. b4, not the most common way to play. Carlsen did something similar, I think, without h3, h6. Against Kayakin, it's just grabbing some space, so it's not a ridiculous idea. Knight h5. What do I do? Probably I'll go here and try to weather the storm. And Bill 1226 says I would need a beach in the background, while Blinder says El Nino would crush Jan, in my opinion. I agree. Most active 21-year-olds who are rated 2675 should crush inactive 2620s, and El Nino is an absolutely fantastic player. So I fully agree that he would and should crush me. Actually, he did crush me the other day. We played some Blitz games after his training session with LDBs, and El Nino is very, very strong. This kid will go places. By El Nino we mean Mr. David Anton, the Spanish number 2, putting some pressure on my friend Paco Vallejo to maintain his position as Spanish number 1, because El Nino really keeps improving, and I've seen how much they work here with Mr. Dibis, our Spanish community manager. So very impressed by El Nino. Not very impressed by my position here. I mean, I've been busy doing all kinds of nonsense, but Penguin Do not only has been much faster, he's also played extremely well. So that's 2 bad things for me. And yeah, well, what to do? Make random moves, but make them more quickly, I would guess. G5. Either this is a very strong player, or I'm just playing like a moron, or both. Because it looks like, yeah, I'm under pressure in the Gioco Piano. So far my 2-1 e4 outings today have led to me having horrible positions, both in the Scotch and in the Gioco Piano. Especially in the Gioco Piano, that really shouldn't happen, because the big advantage of it is you can kind of wing it, just make moves, and you're supposed to be fine. But nothing's as easy as it seems. And this structure, we've had the structure recently in a game. What was it? Andreikin, I think Kayakin Andreikin and Vike, where Kayakin somehow won, but yeah, I was not a fan then, and I'm not a fan now, especially after Queen e6, sort of, yeah, putting me on the spot here. And Penguin Do is very, very strong. Oh, cashing in already, huh? I don't see the trick, but I have a feeling the trick is coming. Maybe it's just f5. Yup. This will not end well. Yeah, this one I am going to lose, but you know, still gotta try to stick around, play a little faster to improve my chances on the clock. See what happens. Ain't over yet. Attitude, Jan. I have to work on my attitude. All this pessimism whenever I get in trouble. It's unhealthy for all of us. But yeah, this transformation didn't really help my chances. This rook, this knight on f4 is a monster, and yeah, not really standing a chance here. Can I take? I'm getting so paranoid. I didn't really count the pawns. Am I material down? Feels like material should still be equal, which would mean I should have a chance. And also, I should clarify that it does feel like Missed knight b6. Can't evaluate the pawn endgame, but no time for it either. So plan B, Flagstaff, Arizona, which is a real place, as I was recently taught. This pawn endgame is winning for me, which is good news. For me, at least. Now I'm gonna win this game. Penguin Du obviously played like a way stronger player than 1541. Actually, arguably a stronger player than me, even though, yeah, initially I might have been bothered with other stuff. But fantastic game by Penguin Du. Got lucky there in the end, thanks to the Flagstaff effect as well. Let's play another one. Do we have time for one more? Yeah, let's do one more. And then let's play Yolandi. And then wrap it up. I'm guessing because of the connection streaming issues earlier that the YouTube link will be... The YouTube video will be a bit broken and we're gonna have to fix it. But we'll do our very best. By we, I mean whoever has a clue how to do it, because I honestly don't. And anyway, we're playing the close Sicilian here against Yolandi. I've played different setups here. I believe rook b8 followed by b5 is fine. e5 followed by knight e7 should be alright too, even though I'm always at a bit of a loss what I'm going to do after f4. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I haven't played the Sicilian regularly for, ever since my days as a junior. Where as a junior you have to deal with lots of close Sicilians. People do seem to enjoy those, especially in junior tournaments. I'm not sure if that's true, but I had that feeling. So all of my knowledge in the wonderful field of close Sicilians might be just a tad dated. And again, I've probably been saying this about every single opening we've had on the board today. Knight d4 was of course possible, but I thought the position after either knight takes or bishop takes was a little too dry. So I'm going to try to keep some more material on the board. Not sure I want to take there. Not yet. Queen b6, d4. So aggressive. All right. Try to transform the structure, hopefully in my favor, even though I'm not really sure. After knight c3, I might have transformed it in Yolandi's favor, but it still looked sensible to leave him with these doubled d pawns in the center, especially since I hopefully can get my bishop to d3, like knight c3, bishop f5, followed by bishop d3. So maybe knight c3 is not best and he should go rook fc1 or whatnot. I don't know. My best guess is it's still kind of equal. Here we go. People are saying in the chat that penguins are smarter than humans. I'm not sure about that. Penguins, for example, I'm not sure if you guys knew that, they tend to live monogamously. They find one partner and stick with them for life. Then another thing about penguins, this one is not true however, is that penguins, once they fall down, they can't stand up by themselves. So in wherever they roam, is it Antarctica? I think it's Antarctica. There are people whose sole job it is to pick up penguins and put them back on their feet. That one, as I said, is not true, but I still always have enjoyed the idea that people can make a living as a penguin pickup artist, which, yeah, I would be very interested in doing. I'm getting outplayed here by Yolandi, but so far I have a feeling I've been getting outplayed in every game, in spite of me making perfectly sensible moves. So people have been tough with me, but I've been hanging in there, and for whatever reason I've been winning every game so far, which really I haven't deserved. But yeah, here I'm getting crushed yet again. It's so sad when they all crush you all the time, isn't it? Maybe chess just isn't my thing. It's time to find a new hobby. The problem is, we've had lunch with our friend Javier Moreno Carnero, a grandmaster from Madrid today. And he mentioned, well, he hasn't been playing chess for a long time, but he mentioned that even for him, there's always this thought like, it's going to be tough for us to be better at anything in the rest of our lives than we were/are at chess. Which in a way is inspiring. We've have achieved so much, quote unquote, in this field. In a way, it's also frustrating. It's going to be very hard to get as good as at anything else, and we're not even that good. Like, we're not well top. Anyway, I'm getting crushed here by Yolandi, which is not good. He's thinking about positional exchange sacrifice like rook c6, bishop takes dc. Can we do that? There goes rook c4 for now, offering to repeat moves, which of course me in my naivete will not go for. There's knight d1, that smells a little fishy, does it not? Yup. And yeah, that has changed fortunes a little bit. Now I'm a piece up and winning after a very good game by Yolandi. Yeah, this knight blunder, of course, turned things around a little bit. Ooh, Don G in the chat is bringing up dolphins. Dolphins are always a red flag for me. I don't trust dolphins. I believe people only like dolphins because they don't have sharp teeth. But as for me, I don't trust them at all. And I'm spending actually a lot of my free time on this site, which I just posted in the chat, www.ihatedolphins.com. Because read up on dolphins. Not our friends. Vicious creatures. Rapists. Dolphin fun facts here, for example. Dolphins eat human babies. Do you know that? Dolphins sound like they breathe helium, but no, I can't read that out. Dolphins created racism, see? Dolphins use sonar to track fish. Wow, I didn't know that one either. Dolphins were the real assassins of President Kennedy. That sounds unlikely, frankly. I'm not sure if all of this is based on science, but the notion is certainly true. We can't trust dolphins. They're not our friends. So beware, as people say. What else is here? Ways to kill them. Stuff them in a blender. 103 ways to kill a dolphin. I don't know. This side might be... I'm not sure if this is the... Yeah. This is the leading authority on the hashtag Never Dolphins. But certainly a food for thought. Anyway. Thank you guys for watching the show. Sorry for the technical problems. We'll be in touch. Bye bye.